Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where I review the latest movies and documentaries. Today, I'm going to talk about Looks That Kill movie. If you're interested in this topic, make sure to watch this video until the end, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. In the office of a psychologist, teenage boy Max says that he wishes he was normal, but this is impossible. The reason his entire face was covered with bandages is because he was born with an amazingly beautiful face that he kills anyone that sees it. At least not a painful death, because they are usually happy to see his beautiful face. Max shares the story of his birth, explaining that he killed the nurses and the hospital doctor who saw his face, but luckily his parents are immune to their son's beauty. Studies conducted on the day revealed that his face is so beautiful that it causes an increase in hormones that immediately end a person's life. For this reason, the family had to move to a small town and take as many precautions as possible, such as deciding to educate Max at home to protect him and the other children. Unfortunately, this has resulted in Max growing very lonely and protected. It is also embarrassing when interacting with people. His hobby is also unusual. He likes to do embroidery. The psychologist does not believe the story and forces Max to reveal his face. Suddenly, Max's parents hear a strange noise coming from the psychiatrist's office. When they rush in, they find Max putting his bandages back on and the psychiatrist dead on the floor. The police soon show up and warn parents that they cannot continue to ignore these deaths as accidents, so Max must be more careful or he will end up in prison. While the adults talk, Max sees a brick and picks it up to bring home. Later, at his home, Max's parents tell him that they don't like having him at home all day, and ask Max's only friend, Dan, to register him in a dating app, which annoys Max. Then, in his room, Max asks Dan to beat him with bricks, so he could stop being a killer beautifier. When Dan is distracted by his phone and notifications from his dating apps, Max throws him to the ground, causing Dan to hit him all he wants. Max ends up in the hospital with his mother and in the waiting room. The mother reads in a magazine that they are looking for families to be hosts for exchange students, which could be an opportunity to bring another team home for Max to have a friend. Max hates the idea and goes to look for another magazine, only to find the shelf empty. The girl named Alex has the latest magazine and decides to share it with him, prompting teens to chat for a while before the doctor calls Max. Later, Dan decides to try to please Max by getting a blind date. They meet the girl at the restaurant, and Dan does some chatting to break the ice, but once he leaves, things get incredibly embarrassing. It is clear that the girl is wary of his appearance. To look more friendly, Max gave her a handkerchief embroidered with her name. Things started to look better, but suddenly some noise warns them that Craig is causing problems in the restaurant. The guy suddenly approaches their table and sits with them with the intention of courting the girl, but sees Max's bandages, and realizes that he is the guy from the Deadly Stories. He is very rude and scary, so Max tries to leave to avoid trouble, accidentally knocking on their drinks. When he stands, Craig throws the napkin into the liquid to make fun of Max, and keeps pressing him to reveal his face, going so far as to push him on the table to force him. Fortunately, the restaurant staff uses that moment to finally fire Craig. Then Max asks the girl for another date, but now she is afraid of his face and refuses him. After this disastrous date, Max believes that he will never live a normal life and goes to try to end things. Suddenly, Alex appears and annoys him for what he does, which begins a conversation about his life, candy and Max's dream of swimming in a tub of jelly beans. In order to distract him, he invites Max to come with her, and they take a bus to a retirement home where he introduced to Rosemary and Esther, two elderly ladies with final circumstances. However, they are still lively, and the four of them spend a wonderful afternoon together. While sharing tea and snacks, they learn that Esther is trying to write another book before she dies, but it is difficult due to Alzheimer's disease. After leaving the retirement home, Alex walks with Max home, and Max wonders if they can see each other again, but Alex says no. Later, Max hangs out with Dan, who tells Max that he shouldn't give up. Since Max can't look up Alex on social media because he doesn't know her surname, Dan thinks he should hang around the places he saw her and try to bump into her. That night, Max designed embroidery around the bridge moment. The next morning, Max decided to return to the bus station and realized that Alex had intentionally missed her flight. Alex is a little wary of him at first, but then agrees to have fun. Together, they go to the store and buy a lot of jelly beans to fill the sink in Max's bath, finally realizing his dream. Motivated by this, Alex admits that she loves swimming in a river of jelly while enjoying the dessert bath. Max finally told her about his killer face, but Alex already suspected he was the guy from the stories. In contrast, Alex explained that she suffers from a rare cardiovascular disease that makes her allergic to endorphins. Excitement causes inflammation, and this causes her heart to grow. Alex then shows that under her jacket, she should always wear a screen that tracks the size of her heart. He explains her body rejects emotions. At the moment, you are taking an experimental drug to solve it. Hearing all this makes Max finally feel that he has someone who understands the situation. After that, they go to watch a movie and get drunk during it, laughing at any details. Then they go to Max's house, and Alex admires his embroidery, which makes her ask him to design a design for her one day. Suddenly, Alex approaches him and takes off his sunglasses, scaring Max for a second. Fortunately, his eyes alone cannot kill people, and now the two teenagers have a sweet moment that can end with a kiss. Unfortunately, it is at that moment that Max's parents arrive and destroy the moment. Teenagers quickly break up, but parents can find out what is happening, and they are in shock. Max's mother is so happy that Max finally met a girl hugging Alex. The parents also introduced them to Outcast and exchanged students with whom they would henceforth live. She also brought a cat with her. However, she is antisocial and ignores the family most of the time. Even at dinner time, she orders her food so she can eat on her own. Since then, Max and Alex start hanging out together all the time, and often visit the retirement home for tea or play games with Rosemary and Esther. One day, the teenagers decided to go on a camping trip, and Max got into an argument with his parents, who made him take Yushin with them. The next day, the group leaving for the forest ends with the composition of Max, Alex, Joshin, Dan and his last date. As always, Yushin ignores them, but others enjoy exploring and taking pictures a lot. When Alex accidentally hit her hand with a branch, Max cut off some of his face bandages to envelop her wound, making Alex's heartbeat a little faster. Later in the evening, they set up camp, and Dan and his girl hid under a blanket for some privacy, while Shane slept. Max decides to follow Dan's lead and throws a blanket at himself, and then Alex prepares a surprise. He tells her to close her eyes before covering them with a bandage. After that, he grabs her hands to make him touch his face, and has an idea of his appearance. Max admits that he killed the girl who gave him his first kiss, because she broke the rule and opened her eyes, so Alex comforts him by kissing him before leaving the blanket. A few days later, Alex called Max to tell him that they couldn't see each other today, because her mother needed her to help with some housework around the house. After that, Max's mother asks him to get rid of the old Christmas tree. So Max takes it out with the help of Dan. Meanwhile, Outcast had smoke, and when she threw her cigarette away, she accidentally set fire to the tree. Dan and Max rushed to try to postpone it, and Dan accidentally burned his hands, so they took him to the hospital. As soon as Dan takes care of his hands, the boys try to leave, only to bump into Alex and her mother. It turned out that Alex lied and was here all day. The boys try to introduce themselves, but Alex tells her mother that they are just co-workers from the nursing home and leave without another word. The next day, Max goes shopping with his father and wonders how he can tell if he's in love. The father tells him that he knows that his son loves Alex, but it may not be obvious to her, so he must tell her directly. In the afternoon, Alex and Max hang out again, and Alex explained that she had to lie yesterday, because her mother doesn't like to have friends thinking too much excitement might kill her. Her mother only approves of the retirement home because it is a boring place. After that, they visit the nursing home and are destroyed when they learn that Rosemary is dying. They visit her in her room and discover that she keeps her alive by machines that discuss Alex, because she believes people should be allowed to die with dignity. She asks Max to show his face to Rosemary so she can die peacefully. And when Max refuses, Alex is left alone, thinking about how Rosemary suffers. Max changes his mind and returns to the room where he calls out the name Rosemary. When she opens her eyes, he begins to remove his bandages, and Rosemary realizes what is happening, so she never stops him, dying with a soft smile on her face. After this incident, Alex stops responding to Max's messages and does not know what to do. His parents try to give some advice, but this only ends in an argument, and Max leaves to hang out with Dan. His friend is big news. There will be a party at the local school, and Dan believes Max should go, even if he is studying at home. Max is too nervous to do anything, so Dan takes his phone and sends a message to Alex inviting her to dance. Since he doesn't get an answer, Max goes to Alex's house to ask why she ignored him. Alex admits that the experimental drug is not working, and that her heart is growing bigger and bigger. They argue about the fact that she was pushing him away, but Max remains supportive, and Alex finally accepts to go dancing with him. On the day of the party, Alex appears with two funny outfits that she got from the adult store. She would go as a maid, and for Max, she got a mask and a horn, so that it would be our headquarters. When they arrive at school, they enjoy dancing and flirting together. At first, the music is fast and engaging, but then it turns into a slow romantic tune that brings them closer. This intense moment makes Alex's heart start beating dangerously fast and makes her nose bleed, so she rushes to take care of him, while Max waits. He hangs out with Dan and his date, but the moment breaks when Craig comes to annoy them. He is jealous that Dan is dating his ex-wife and wants revenge for what happened at the restaurant. So while his friends grab Dan, Craig grabs Max and takes off his mask, killing Dan's date instantly. People start to panic as the police arrive to arrest Max. Putting a bag on his head on the way out, he noticed that Alex was being transported by ambulance. That night, Max was held in a cell. The next morning, Max is released and goes to the hospital where Alex's mother hugs him to share the pain. Max then visits Alex and learns that she lied all the time she was underestimating her illness. It turns out that she already has an incurable condition, and she knew from a child that she would die at this age. Alex has only a few days left and hates plugging him into a device at the hospital, so she asks Max to reveal his face to her. Max refuses because he doesn't want to see her die, and attacks her, explaining that he has watched people die all his life, and this has affected him. He then leaves, refusing to hear it anymore. When Max gets home, he feels so upset that he uses bricks for plastic surgery, but his parents come immediately to stop him. They catch him while he suffers a breakdown, but when the bandages slip, he accidentally kills Yoshin's cat. In the following days, Max ignores all Alex's messages. Later, Max joins Dan to pay their respects to the dead girl. Dan is sad, but he still takes a moment to scold Max for ignoring Alex, making him see that he will miss the opportunity to say goodbye. The next day, Max visits Alex in the hospital and covers the wall with his embroidery as a way of apologizing. He also shows her that he made a design for her. Alex's condition is getting worse, so Max lies next to Alex and removes his bandages. Then they close their eyes as they share a kiss, expecting the worst to happen. When Max opens his eyes, he is shocked to see Alex still alive. However, she is so happy to finally see the real Max that her heart can't stand him, and she's still dying. At least she has a smile on her face, because she remembers all the time she spent with Max. Later, Max attends Alex's funeral, feeling the utter devastation of losing the only girl who ever took care of him. After that, he went to the bridge, brought an envelope with Alex's name on it. Inside the envelope, put jello powder. Then he throws it into the river until Alex's dream comes true. After Alex's death, Max returns to therapy and begins to honor the things Alex taught him. He continues to visit the nursing home to keep Esther company, and the police and Craig free him from all charges, because the girl's death was seen as a natural cause. This case becomes famous, and Max begins to receive a lot of messages from dying people asking for his help. Max begins to understand that death is sometimes necessary, and begins to visit people who write to him, in order to help them reach peace with a painless death. Max also discovers that Alex didn't die because true love gave her immunity, which is also why his parents didn't die either. Since Dan is Max's only true friend, Max can start hanging out with him without wearing bandages. However, he needs to be careful because one day he forgets that his face is exposed and opens the door, accidentally killing the visitor Craig. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this movie and what other movies or documentaries you want me to review next. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching and see you next time.